Hello there.
Congratulations on the presentation today. It was quite nice.
Thank you. It was, yeah, I was very happy with it. It seemed to raise a few new points and seemed to be quite clear. And it's always amazing to have those guys by my side, as it were.
Yes.
And thank you for being there. What time of the day was it for you?
Oh, it was 9 in the
Okay.
morning. Yeah, I usually get here in the studio around 8:30. So it was just after breakfast. It was perfect timing.
Very good. I'm uploading the video now, but even though I down-resed it to 1080, it's taking quite a while.
Yeah.
But that's
happens.
okay.
I just ordered a microphone today, so I can do some recordings like the ones you're doing for the software.
Which mic did you order?
I ordered a simple one that has that little arm and the pop filter. It's like a little combo. It's not a very professional mic, but it should get the job done for now.
Yeah, I mean, I use this one. I got this a long time ago. The
Blue Yeti.
Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah,
it's just when I do a demo, I have to sit like this, and so it's not very comfortable. But I had it for years and years, and kind of forgot about it. Started using it again. Sound quality is pretty good. So
yeah, that's why I got the little arm that you can clamp on the table, and then you can move it around, and then you can have it coming from the top or from the bottom. So I feel like if I'm going to do just screen recordings, it's going to be nicer. That way I don't have to appear on the camera to make the tutorials.
Yeah, and the sound quality makes just a world of difference. It's very strange. But
yes, it does. The video can be iffy, but if the audio is iffy, then it's not good to watch.
We just upgraded the amplifier for our living room speakers and also the projector. It's a Sony, and it's about 500 pounds. So it's a lot of money, but it sounds like it's at least 5,000 pounds. It's astounding. Suddenly the technology has just gone like this. The clarity, I love Hamilton, as you may have noticed. And to listen to Hamilton on this, it's like, whoa, it's like every single thing out of their mouths and every single instrument is right where it should be. So yeah, it blew me away, did.
Nice, that's nice.
So I don't know who will be here today. I know that Peter cannot make it, he sent an email. I don't think Mark Anderson, he has a paper deadline today. But there are things we can discuss.
Yeah, we could probably talk about the future of text on Circle. If you want to do some upgrades to it, we can talk about it, or we can talk about the book as well.
We can. So John Hockenberry, he has composed hang on, let me just check the messages here. A suggestion of an email to invite high interest kind of people. So I think he should just take what he has written and run with it for a couple of people, because it's hard to co-edit those things, especially since he is a journalist and he's in that world. But we do need to invite a lot more people. And I saw your message about your Japanese teacher, so that's very good.
Yeah. Hey, Gunther.
Hello there. Oh,
hello.
Camera action.
Oh God, I just got a phishing email to contact Liquid.info subject verification required. They don't spell required correctly. So bad. Anyway, it just happened when you joined. So yeah, I did a presentation this morning, Gunther, to the Dutch kind of library archival people, and that was interesting. And it just highlights to me that visual meta is not a format, it's not a standard, it's an approach. So people keep talking about Dublin core and all these things. So finally, for the presentation I did today, I put in Dublin Core inside Visual Meta. I mean, why not? So it's just a bit shocking how slow this idea is to take on. But the response was good, wasn't it, Raphael?
Yeah, it was good. It was very good. They even asked the first steps to implement, which I thought was quite nice, and they demonstrated interest on it.
Yeah, I thought that was quite pleasant. Oh, Jerry is here too. Hello, Jerry.
Hello, hello.
Hello.
So, Jerry, I did a presentation to these Dutch people this morning, libraries, archival people, very interesting. I'm very happy to have done it. Mark and Juan made it, which was a nice surprise. So we talked a little bit about the whole interrelation of these different worlds. I did I did an email today because I only realized yesterday that I was allowed to invite people, but I'm not sure if it went out as clearly as it should have been. But one of the issues that came up.
So can you be a bit more detailed? So what was this meeting?
Oh, the Dutch Knowledge, I don't know how to say it in English or Dutch properly, but it's an organization in Holland about archiving in libraries and fun things like that. So they had a 2-week conference.
Okay.
This was the closing session. I was on Visual Meta, and Dutch people are not very polite. They're pleasant, but they're not polite. They will say things straight, which is good in this context. Yesterday I had a meeting with some of the organizers to go through the presentation. So they asked some questions which meant that they were happy with it, they got it. So you obviously know all of this stuff, but also highlight it to them. It's not just at the back of a document, it's also in the process of copying. And that's of course relevant to what you have done.
Okay.
Jerry, were you here when I showed the new kind of concept mapping thing we have?
No. I think I don't. I mean, they had some earlier ones, but no, I didn't. I didn't.
Raphael and Günther, are you okay if I do a quick demo?
Go ahead.
Yes, please. Yes, please.
So it's kind of working now, which is kind of crazy. So, boom. All right, here we have a normal document. This is author, of course, and the new style of author is actually gray background, not warm, even though you can toggle it back if you want. So you click at the bottom of the screen, map/right, or you do Command M, and you get this view. You can move things around anywhere you want. But when you touch something, depending on the definition, it will make lines for you. So in this example,
I seen this when it was just 2 nodes. Yes.
Yeah. So now it works, and it's really fun to experiment with it. There's a few refinements we've got to do with the logic, but isn't that just fun?
Yes, it is. I mean, this is kind of thing. You may have seen some of my tweets. This is the kind of thing I played with. I think back in 2014 it was, yes, the linked up challenge. When we sort of extracted these connections. And I think
It's just the only thing I really want to highlight here is 2 things. One, it's so simple that what makes the link. It is just if.
Yes, I understood that. That's really nice.
That's it. So there isn't any intelligent extraction or anything.
Yeah, no, that's the beauty. I mean, this is the direction I'm going to. This is what in my outrageous paper. That's what I was saying. That we really should focus on the human needs, not the machines. Okay. Yeah. And that's exactly it. Focus on how you, or as Mark used to say, how can you make some of the semantics, the intent explicit as you write, and that's exactly what you're thinking sort of allows you to highlight and turn it into something visual. I mean, that's exactly the right thing. And I just had a really good meeting with Ian Neal, the Codex guy. You must have seen him. You remember, on Twitter.
Yeah.
And
Very interesting work.
really good. And we also had always have a kind of Twitter double act. When he poses a question and I respond, or the other way around. And it's quite clear that he's in the same camp as you are, which is basically, I mean, he's very radical in the sense that he works with text as it is, and really design this standoff properties, complex things, which enable you to sort of impose semantics or arbitrary extra augmented text in a way where the highlights can overlap. I mean, that really the key problem that he solves. So he's basically like you. He works with the text as in the familiar way, and enables the addition of knowledge. And I'm on the other extreme where I work with listicles. Okay, so it's quite a different way, and actually notation itself helps you to articulate the structure in a deep way. And it basically gives me a bracketing editor for complex bracketing thoughts. But what I want to say is that so it is we both agree, and I'm sure you do that.
Oh, Jerry, you muted yourself.
The people are different, and their approach, their attitudes, the way of working is different. So what the real goal is to enable people to use whatever is best for them, yet exchange information. And I don't know whether I mean, there is this is the moment I regularly attend the fission talks, and sometimes I manage to turn up here, which I really enjoy. And next Thursday at 6 o'clock, I will send you the link. There's going to be a 3-part fission talk, which is actually the future of text. They really talk about how the data formats needed to make text like Markdown or whatever really for 100 years
I've seen
text.
something about that. Could you send me a link to make sure that I
Yes, I send you the link. But we all of you should turn up, and next time they should turn up here. That's what I think, because it's a clear convergence of and I find, I mean, the people who turn up, it's amazing. Study it. It is amazing. So and of course Neil will have a presentation next week, but that would be in 3 a.m. or something, because he's in Australia.
Yeah.
But
so, just while I have this up, I just wanted to show you guys the thing you've kind of seen before, but now it really works.
Yeah.
Select text, Command F, see all the occurrences. And if you do it on a term that is in the glossary, it's now robustly working. I just think it's so important. So you can then click on top here and see all the different definitions. You can go through the knowledge base, right? But the reason I'm harping on about it, not just because I'm super excited because it worked for me, but it is because we're working on the second volume of the book, and we're also working on a kind of compendium of the book, and we're working on how it's going to be authored. That kind of interaction, there's got to be something amazing that is, outside of this. In my world now, I have managed to stop talking about glossaries. Remember glossy thinking and all of that for the last 2 weeks? Now it's just defined.
Yeah.
And then, oh, by the way, you get a glossary on export. Look what you can do. So so we have these in my world, and I'm going to see what's happening here. In my world, we have an export of references that's created, endnotes, and glossary. But we're making this amazing book with all these attributes. Is there another ancient thing, like a glossary is an ancient thing? Is there another ancient thing or new thing that we can add to the digital version of the book?
I don't know if glossary and I'm thinking, so table of contents, glossary, index, all of these things being added, but I'm trying to think if the ebook versions, they're slightly different and how they're augmented, because on a physical book, we already know what to expect. You have to keep jumping between different pages from the front of the book, back of the book. And yeah. So, no, yeah, I mean, all of those augmentations from software are obviously given, which is great. I love the folding and unfolding. I think that's my favorite feature, Frode.
Thanks. This is a small test document where I'm just messing about, but one of the things you just made me think of here, one is names. So it just extracts names in the document and shows where they are so you can jump to them. This is a library thing we get from Apple. The other one is just showing the glossary terms wherever they are. Again, it's a crap document, so it's not that useful. But when you're going through a document, this is the kind of thing when you're composing, probably when you're authoring too. So what you talked about there, is there maybe things that can be extracted through some kind of machine stuff? I don't like the phrase machine learning. Or something else that we can really help people digest, because it's going to be at least twice as big as this, right? When it's together with
Yeah, definitely. So I keep going back to the idea of what if you embedded, for example, Apple Dictionary, right? You connected Apple Dictionary to either author or reader, and then you already have some kind of content from the dictionary that you can interpret what's on the text or is being written. That way, a lot of maybe some definitions, some terms, you would have it embedded within the text itself. So I'm just thinking if that would make it faster, for example, to get a dictionary definition of hypertext without you having to type in the definition,
Raphael, you wonderful weird creature. Do you really not know Liquid?
I do know Liquid, but I mean, are they all connected, Frode? Do you have author and reader and Liquid all in one?
I have 3 apps. Author
Yes.
makes the PDF, reader reads the PDF. Liquid works everywhere.
Yes.
So that's
but
why
you need you still need 3 different apps. They're not in the same ecosystem, right?
there are 3 completely different apps. And I think that's important because, even though I'm just a tiny guy, I'm not going to pretend to own the whole workflow. It has to be really open at all the useful steps. So, if I am here, let's say, translate to French.
Yes.
Right. So it's all everywhere.
I've used, programs like Alfred and also Quicksilver, which is a lot older, and they all do these kinds of things. But the thing is that they're disconnected from the main. So people would have to know about Liquid in order to use the augmentation that Liquid provides.
They would have to know about it. That is true. And okay, so now we're talking about a really important aspect of our work. So there's this amazing book. Hang on. I think I may have shared it before.
The Executive Brain.
So the point that it makes that I think is very relevant to us is this whole right brain, left brain thing. It doesn't simplify it into creative and non-creative or anything like that. What it does is it says the left side of the brain, forgetting the prefrontal cortex, that's something else. That is the place where stuff is. The right side is stuff you are creatively learning at the moment. Both of them learn a new task at the same time. So let's say you're learning to ride a bicycle. You're learning with your right and left. Once the left one is caught up, then the right doesn't need to bother with it. So I know that sounds a bit preachy and whatever. I just find it interesting the way he explained it's both at the same time. So when it comes to most of the software, like Command F for find and all of that, I try to make it as using what is already in people's left-hand side. so that it takes no creative thought at all. That's really important. But there are some Doug Engelbart style things, like Liquid literally is NLS upside down. What I mean by that is when you launch it, this little bar here that is Liquid is the help menu in NLS. So if you want to do
CLI, yeah.
Yeah, because if you want to do references, IMDb, for instance, when you hit question mark in NLS, it would give you all the possible options. That's what it does here, R and then I. So after a while, you can learn and you just fly through it. So I completely accept the criticism, and it is criticism, it's totally fine, that people do have to learn this, because the difference is when Apple upgraded their Mac OS recently, it stopped working for me. And it was like my fingers were cut off. It was awful. And I got user email saying that they just cannot navigate. It's like you're doing this, trying to click a button instead of just this, that, just that, this, that. So it's hard. In Author, it is actually in the control click menu as well. In Reader, I guess we can put it, but it's a bit, when do you expect users to step up and when do you step up for them? That's obviously the balance we're looking at.
Yeah.
It's got over 300 commands. You can do them within half a second.
Yes, it is incredible. I have it, but I guess I keep thinking of ecosystems and things being integrated so that you get the benefit of all the worlds in one place, right?
Yeah.
And if I'm doing a document, I don't want to keep jumping between things. I want to be like in the creative flow, either writing and adding things to it.
I think with loving respect, it depends what you mean by that. Because let's say you're doing a web page, just, like in the olden days, now it's a bit different. You'd be spending some time in Photoshop, some time in Dreamweaver, GoLive, whatever it was the traditional way of doing it. You may be writing the copy somewhere else. The ecosystem is your Mac in that case, right? And in some cases, you do everything in one. But I really think that, with Guy Kawasaki being the hardcore evangelist, talking to developers saying, use the same goddamn keyboard shortcuts and all of that stuff, that's really been good for a while. I think that, we have two kind of network thinker guys here, Jury and Gunter, both start with a G, that's funny. They should be able to really express their way of doing it. And you and I, who are more consumers in this area, should be able to jump in and out of them as we want. It still feel it's the same. And last thing on my little speech here, the one thing I think the Mac got from Windows that is really, really powerful is Command Tab. To instantly go from this piece of software to another one without thinking makes it feel so much more like one thing. So that's just an opinion. I'm not arguing against the feeling of flow that you're talking about.
Yeah, it's fine.
What do we want people to be able to do when they read the book, other than read it?
Like you were saying, I'd love to extract information from the book. So you showed an option to organize a list of names that are in the book. How about just maybe dates as well, or places or things? And then that's where the connection to the dictionary would kind of help to know which places are exist already, and then you can kind of maybe even plot it on a map, like, oh, the conversation happens around this area of the map. And here are the top 10 words that are mentioned in this 300-page file. Some of those things are nice to make these infographics of sorts, extracting some kinds of information from the book.
I think what I would like to do is which is obviously it looks like an acquired taste because not many people doing it, but I already do it on the existing version, with all these annotations, and I'm trying to get it ready for the Iron of it in June. That in fact, I mean, the beauty of how it is as is that somebody annotates something that is of interest to you, you can reply to it and start a conversation. But the next stage is, this is what I'm trying to do, is that with a simple link, you should be able to put a link in your comments or annotation, which should be a portal to your real knowledge work, where you could actually continue the conversation. And similarly, it would be possible, it should be possible, that any other network thinking tool or any other tool, this is the beauty of the hyperlink, that it can deliver you to any other context. So I think that would be really cool, that to make it dynamic. And I also do with the Indie Hub is that you could actually have, and this is what I've done this month, that you should be able to engage in one-to-one conversations without ever needing to sign up. I mean, because that's a real hurdle. The reason at the moment, any conversation that's happening, you have to be part of some platform, and instantly that platform is a silo. So I'm trying to do a thing that when you got some annotation and you find people who are interested in the same thing, because the content brings people together. You should be able to really continue the conversation, in an unfettered way, in an ad hoc, spontaneous way. That's my vision. Yeah. So I would like to see, and of course, I don't know. I also want to be able to do this because as soon as whatever text you have is linked to your own knowledge work or conversation, that conversation can be visualized in many ways. My favorite is the Voronoi map, which is, you see it on Trailmark's thing. The point about the Voronoi map, that it's sort of fractal. It's not trying to present. The whole point of visualization is to give you an opportunity to re-experience the context in a different way, so you are able to see new things that you wouldn't have noticed. I think that would be the most interesting thing to do.
So your target user then is self-directed learners primarily, right?
Absolutely, yes. I mean, in any case, let's face it, it's the self-directed learners who pay attention to text sufficiently, and in depth. Basically, you really need to have that motivation in you to find out what's next. What's the adjacent. Don't just take whatever is given and finish with it. Yeah.
I think I have an example here in one of my hard drives of a little project I did a couple of years ago. I'm going to try to find it and share with you.
Okay.
Related to text.
So while we're waiting for that, the Command F command does that stuff, Could we make, and it does the glossary stuff. Could we maybe make that do more? Like, I'm now showing interest of a specific piece of text, and I'm doing this common command. Oh, it's glossary. Oh, it's everywhere there. Could we maybe at the bottom of the screen have a bar for some kind of machine learning or some kind of a different glossary or for timeline?
Well, I actually experimenting with this idea that if you really pay attention to the text, basically every word or two phrases should be hyperlinked and take you somewhere. And I want to do it the other way around and say any piece of text, especially the one that you engage with, should trivially, if you got a rich enough context, should be able to just what you just do, instead of waiting for somebody to highlight some phrase, you should be able to automatically gather those related contexts. I think there is a feature in Roam which does something like that you focus on a paragraph, and in a side, I think I've seen a video as well, in a side panel or somewhere, you could actually automatically gather anything that may be relevant in some sense. And of course, you should be able to you should be able to say control the you know how rich, how high level it should be. But I think that is something which that should be possible to do in many ways. But that is something really useful. That you focus on any text, then anything certainly in my work, certainly anything that I've written, which is linked in some way, because I already create linked text, so it's easy for me to surface that. But in any network writing tool, we'll have that capability, and you introducing a lot more networking. So in that sense, you should be able to, like what you're saying on your concept map, you should be able to generate a concept map without an explicit instruction to do so. Are you following this, Rhoda?
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate Mark Antoine's work and effort, but he kind of got me overfilled on the notion of concept maps, which is useful. You know, it's just a very different direction. He may very well be watching this video, so I say this in a loving and respectful manner. It seems to me, and I'm making caricature, that if I build my map here and you build your map here, we can link them and somehow understand each other. For some areas of science, with different languages, I'm sure there is real use in that. But for me, what I'm trying to augment is the act of building is thinking. So that's why you have to write the definitions explicitly for the connections. So it is about the student learning, and then either in the world or with an examiner being able to have internalized. So it really, this circle to the screen and the brain is really, really important. So that's why one of the very first things I learned about HCI was what I call the central irony of interaction design, is that the person who makes the interactive encyclopedia or map or whatever it might be will learn more about the subject than the person using it. Because they have to think about where things should go. The person using it is almost passively going through it. And that was a real shock. And that's why, and that's 20, 30 years ago. It really bothered me. And that's why I'm happy with this current really primitive thing where you are the builder. It's literally an active sandbox, but I'm not laying out nothing for you. But again, it's a different user, a different situation. I'm trying to augment someone learning and demonstrating the learning. You're trying to augment someone doing learning and connection.
But I think they do it in hypothesis, and it was very interesting that I annotated Mark's piece in the future of text, and it is interesting that he commented to me on LinkedIn. It's very interesting what I picked up, you know. So in fact, even if you just contrast, okay, this is also possible in hypothesis to sort of filter, you know. Okay, see what from a given text, what is it that somebody picked up and what others picked up, and of course it would be very interesting to see it when more people do that, because that actually, you know, it really can sort of highlight things which from a different perspective viewpoint are important, and I'm sure it would actually unearth common threads or common conceptions, which is, I think it would be interesting. That's why I'm interested in that. Yeah.
Raphael, did you find what you were looking for?
Yes, I have found. So I'm going to share my screen, and a couple years ago.
1 second. Emily, can you come here, please? All right.
I think if she wants to watch this, I think it relates to language learning as well, and Japanese. This is
what Emily
Japanese.
grew up with. This is our childhood hero, so you'll be surprised now. And Pega has a soft toy one. Just hang on a second. They're going to be so sad.
That's fine. Fine.
Emily, come look. Come look. Raphael was going to show something. Look, hang on, who's that? Hello. You want to say hi to everyone, Ega? Hi. And Mommy all the way up there. Hi. Sorry for the interruption,
Hello.
but you see Totoro. It's a bit of a thing in this household. That was very nice.
That's
Okay,
quite all right.
Thanks, guys.
So a couple years ago,
Yeah, sorry about that.
A couple of years ago, I was doing some research on how we learn languages, right? And I wanted to connect the methodology from me applied to movies. So we took the movie My Neighbor Totoro, and basically we extracted all the information from it. So all of the script, all of the characters, and all of the speech from each of the characters in the movie. And then I organized it by character. So here we have all of the sentences that May in the movie she said, right? So she has a lot of exclamations, reactions, non-vocal communication. She has short sentences. She has interactions with her mother, interactions with her father, interactions with her sister. Sometimes she's talking about Totoro. Sometimes she's talking about herself. Sometimes she's singing. She has a couple of long sentences, and she has a bunch of questions. So this way of looking at what has been said by only one of the characters, I find it extremely valuable. I mean, she's a little kid, so it becomes obvious that she has non-vocal communication, that she has a lot of reactions that are very small, and she talks about herself in the third person, which is something that little kids sometimes tend to do. And then we did that for all of the characters of the movie. This one isn't organized yet, and neither are these, but we extracted all of those. And then something we also did is the movie is in Japanese. So I have a frequency list of the number of times each of the kanjis has appeared, and then we organize them by order of frequency. So that way, if you're learning Japanese with kids' movies, you're more interested in learning the characters that are most commonly used, right? So you would start with these characters right here. And then these ones are only single used. So like the benefit of learning these characters aren't as high as the ones on the left because they're more common.
And then we did that for the other. More fun, but at least you have a clue of why, right?
Exactly. And then we did the same thing for the different alphabets, both for katakana and both for hiragana as well. And then here we ended up breaking it down into, the words that were made using these characters as well. And then this is just a big list of the complexity of the kanjis as well. And then how many times each of the hiragana, katakana, and kanji, and even Latin characters were used in the movie.
What's code? So doing point? Is that time code, or what is that?
Unicode?
Code point.
Oh, code point is in Windows. If you press, I think, Control and you type in these characters, you get the Unicode characters for it.
Oh, okay, right.
Yeah. So this is one way that I like to interact with content, is trying to extract everything from it in order to gain more insights. So this is just one of the possible studies of what's possible, right?
Right, okay. Yeah, I just wanted to mention a project that I can't really talk about publicly. So yeah, please continue. I find this really fascinating.
Yeah, so I guess when we think about different media types, right? I always try to think of what else is there. So if we're talking about podcasts, we're talking about speech, communication, interaction between two people. We're talking about transcribing the audio into text so it can be searchable and organized as well. And also in language acquisition, there's a lot of talk on frequency lists. But frequency lists based on words, they're based on context. So if you take a look at a frequency list of words on somebody that works in a hospital, it's going to be different than a frequency list from somebody that works in a library, right? It's different vocabularies, different environments. But what I'm most interested in is the frequency list of daily, regular conversation between people, daily interactions, like a coffee, please, where's the bathroom? All of these common conversation methods I find the most interesting because if we manage to synthesize that, then we're able to create language learning materials that are extremely optimized for daily communication. And then all of these add-ons of specific communications would be based on context. So you learn the base of the language, and then maybe you want to learn medicine, then you get the medicine vocabulary, which is also organized by frequency list as well. And then that's just an incredible way of optimizing, which vocabulary should you learn first in order of importance based on context.
Right. So the Totoro example and the example I mentioned could both benefit from click on a character's name and all those fields you showed us could be options to view as kind of subcategories. I think that would be really, interactions with so-and-so. Because all of this can be hand-coded. We're talking about very limited purposes here, but you're also talking about frequency lists for prioritizing what to learn. But what other operations like that do you think could be useful for someone who's trying to learn the body of work rather than the language?
Oh, that's directly connected to the connections you showed as an example. I find that extremely valuable. But you're creating the connections, right? You have to manually create the connections. Some of them can show up automatically based on the text that is in the document, right?
Nothing is automatic in my mind map at all, or concept map. I write a term and a definition. If the definition contains a string of text that is also another term, or actually just another node in the concept map, it'll do a line to it in the thing. That's it. But that is for the student learning about what they're writing as they're learning. That is very different from learning about Totoro, for instance. When you click on any of the characters like the mother, you should be able to do, this stuff could be hard-coded or analyzed or whatever. Mother's interactions with the father, or mother timeline, or whatever it might be. I like to be very interesting. Let them just fly through the document or the script of the movie. I feel, though, that what you've done for language learning is very worthwhile. What we need to do for learning what is in the book, for people to really digest people's perspectives on the future of text and history, we have to be very, on one hand, flippant and artistic and just fun, and then on the other hand, very hardcore about, is it actually useful? Both of those back and forth. Just completely, because, MIT Media Lab is all about, demo or die. Demos are useful things, right? But we want to shift. We want the actual reader to have it, right?
Yes.
We've been watching this series on an American fashion designer called Halston on Netflix. Highly, highly recommended. Highly recommended. It's only 5 episodes, very close to reality. He was a bit of an arrogant son of a bitch, also a genius. The reason to watch it is the drama and the production. It really feels like a proper old-fashioned good novel. You get inside someone's head who's so different from us. But he was an uncompromising designer, and he took all kinds of inspiration. We have to be artists like that too, right? And just look at weird shit. But at the end of the day, it's got to be useful. So come on, guys. What can we do?
You mentioned in the meeting this morning that the version 2 with the book, it would be both standalone and connected to the first one, right? So the body of knowledge of the future of text would just keep growing in this big digital volume. And that starts to bring a lot of interesting scenarios of a lot of different ways to interact with it. And what was his name from the highlight?
Oh,
Was
Whaley?
it Doug? No, not.
Oh, David Blaveau?
No, forgot his name. I think I have it here. Yeah, David. Yeah, David Level. So he's been organizing the contents of the book and maybe bringing different other different medias as well for it and these connections. I'd love to see how it ends up because it feels like it's when I talk to him, it's huge amount of work.
Yeah, it's very interesting what he's doing. The thing is, it's not that long ago we were all walking around in the jungle, right? So much of
Yeah.
our perception is tied to that. Well, kind of leaving the jungle, stepping into the savannah. That's kind of how we were born in some ways, to oversimplify it grossly. So when we talk about something sophisticated, it's very easy to think AR, VR, landscapes. But there's got to be something that also uses the inherently symbolic nature, the very simple things, to see all the names in the book, or other things. But it seems to be that most of the time those are pure demos. How often are you interested in seeing names in the book? You're interested in seeing a specific name, maybe. Right? So how can we really form this shape? There's one scene in this TV series of this artist where he designs for dancers, something that is elastic. It's kind of an emotional thing. I don't want to tell you too much about it, but it's not about freedom. It's actually about feeling a bit locked in while you move for some reason. Is there some kind of, and you know how on iOS devices, when you scroll, it kind of has a bit of physics to it. Is there something we can do to make the book feel tangible like that, like squishy?
Ways of navigating quickly are going to become very important when it's like 1,000 pages long. Both jumping between things and also stumbling upon, for example, if you're reading in alphabetical order, you're probably, the chance of you stumbling upon an article that starts with a J or an X are going to be slightly lower. So maybe there used to be a website called StumbleUpon, where you clicked on it and you would take you to a random website, in a way of, it works in this format of the book. You could stumble upon a different text, and you could do that every day. So you can, read a different text every day.
Yeah. It's really, really annoying because a real digital document doesn't need to have page numbers. It doesn't need to be organized in any format, right? But yet we do it, right? So it's okay having a printed master, but how can we, in that sense, allow a book to be shuffled in PDF? Shuffled, like you said, I'm feeling lucky, that thing, fine. But what about, we talked about themes. We talked about, and I'm really wary about making people or us categorizing. So what about, even show me the shortest or the longest?
True, yeah. All of those filtering or from the oldest to the newest, or from older projects to newer projects as well. Like if it's something related to NLS, it's going to show up first because it happened first. But then all of the newer things as a timeline way of reading as well.
Yeah, if that is encoded, and that is of course part of the problem. But what about if we use basic machine learning thing to do a word, like a word cloud, right? Which is not that hard, but we find an interesting way to limit what is in the word cloud. So you can easily see, oh, there's a lot of people talking about hypertext. Only show me the ones who talk about hypertext, but not in a Command F click about. Those become the only pages you see now. So we're making additions.
Yes.
roll your own book, right?
Huh?
Yeah, roll your own book. Make an edition of the book that is only this.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Maybe you can roll your own book manually as well and share it with students, like an EDL, like an edit decision list. Here's the whole
Mhm.
document, but when you open it, it only shows this unless you click unmask.
I keep wishing for a small printer that produces a finished book, even if it's a simple book. But you know, you throw in a PDF and it takes care of all the things, and out comes out a little booklet, a little
You
book.
say small, what's
Uh,
that?
When I say small, maybe, well, the latest one that I've seen online is one that they're starting to put inside bookstores, and then you can order a book that they don't have in stock, and it gets ready in like 30 minutes. But it takes like a big wall. It takes like wall to wall, but
Yeah.
it takes care of all the processes of making the book. Let me see if I can find it. It's very nice.
So as I think I showed last time, hang on. This is one of the books I'm kind of dipping in and out of.
Yeah, Inky Fingers.
And it's about printing in early Europe. And one of the things that's kind of interesting, a lot of the early publishers were literally copying and pasting with a little bit of exposition. So they were saying, I can explain this thing better than the people previous to me. And of course, that's kind of like hypothesis and kind of like a lot of the things we're talking about, because they didn't link explicitly. There were different ways of linking, but I mean, okay, so how about this then? This idea of editions. Imagine that being merged with the ideas of bookmarks as well, right? So
Yes.
what you can do, let's say Jury has found certain articles more interesting. So he has pulled it to the front and he's made an edition out of that and he just shares that with us like an EDL. So we can open the Jury edition of this book. You know, with or without annotations, that's of course another issue. But that means also a teacher, instead of in the old-fashioned way, kind of photocopying from a book certain sections or whatever it is, giving, here's the stuff you've got to read, and if the student wants to, you can just unmask the whole book as well. But that could come with a lot of pre-processing, right? It could be, I mean, so one of the things that we talked about many, many years ago is the idea of having a quiz embedded in a book. But that quiz is only visible after 30 seconds of being on that page. So the student can't just guess. You might as well read what's on the page because you're not going to get the quiz and you don't know which pages have the quiz anyway. So there's a lot of fun things we can do once we allow the binding of the book to come off. Uncodexifying it.
Kind of, yeah, unbinding it from the physical shackles. Yeah, I love that idea, definitely. And have you tried the Marvin app on iPad, Frode?
Is that one of the cartoon ones?
No, it's
I don't know if I have a fully working iPad in my home right now. Still can't decide if I should ever try to port Author Electra to iPad. Anyway.
Marvin is an ebook reader.
Oh, really?
Yes, for iPad, and then the developer stopped working on it, but it's the best ebook reader app that I've used. Here, it's this one. I put it on chat. See, the last update is 3 years ago.
Yeah.
What I could do is I can record my iPad screen and then, or maybe if I join Zoom on my iPad, I can share my screen from the iPad, right?
I think so, yeah. reading about it here.
So one of the things that it does, let me open the book here. For example, the Wisdom of Crowds by Jaron Lanier. There's this thing called deep view, and then when I use this deep view, the description that it tells me is. Let me open it again. Because it's directly connected to what we've been talking about.
1 second.
Uh-huh.
Half the dinosaur fell off. How did that happen?
We were fighting and it led to no football.
Yes, can you find the head and maybe take it? Okay. Right, sorry. Dinosaur adventures.
So in deep view, it extracts names and terms and all of these things. And then it tells me the frequency list as well. So for example, in this book, it has American in first place. And then when I tap it, it brings all of the instances of that. So it looks a lot like what you've been showing. And then you can export this as well, or you can even translate it or search in different places. So you can sort by frequency, order of appearance, alphabetically, or stars and notes on top. So if you highlighted a passage on the book or you favorited something, those would come up on top.
Yeah, that's very interesting. And it reminds me, do you guys remember the early iPad? Had some cartoon comic book reading apps that you could see the whole page if you wanted, but if you tapped, it would go from frame to frame. Absolutely amazing.
Yes.
And
I think
just
Mr. Morris's Less Morris Fantastic Flying Books.
is there some way we can do that? Can we do guided tours through a book maybe, or in a completely different way? Like marking things up is one thing, but
Like the
imagine
experience.
if it did an actual Nemec style interaction in the book, where you find something here, and then you say it relates to this thing here, but it's in a way that the next reader after your annotation can actually usefully interact with that.
I think there's a lot of this book right here. It's called Reinventing Comics by Scott McCloud.
Yeah, yeah.
And he talks about removing comics from the physical medium and exploring the digital medium. So then you can have comics that, you go left, and then you go down, and then you go left, and down. You don't have to just follow the book structure, how it's, the regular structure. So you have this infinite canvas, and you can navigate it in any way you want. You can zoom in, you can zoom out, you can go up, you can go down, you can flip it, you can do all sorts of things. So this is a really good exploration of removing the boundaries of physical books. I totally recommend it.
It's on my shelf somewhere behind me. I'll try to find it again. And we definitely should try to get him in the second volume of the book. I tried the first one, but couldn't quite reach him.
Yeah. He's writing a very big volume, compiling everything related to visual communication. And it's almost ready. I think it's probably going to be released this year or next year. But he's amazing. I have all his books.
Yeah, I agree. But we have both the benefit and the detriment of primarily dealing with text rather than any kind of images. There are, of course, a few pictures and graphs in the book, but how can we provide a similar interactive, pleasant experience?
Mm-hmm. I would, exploring typography and layout pretty much. and page styles and navigation. And even voiceover as well. I mean, it's getting better and better.
Yeah, we could, but we could also do, I hate the idea of information ghettos like CD-ROMs and that kind of stuff, but we could have, even though we have the same underlying stuff, we could have a splash screen that could say, do you want to have this book listed by first name or last name, by name of topic, etc., all these kinds of stuff. But then also, once you read one, it remembers what you've read, and you can unread it. So an article becomes an atomic unit for that. So you know where you've been, kind of. That's essentially.
I like that. So when you open the book for the first time, you get a couple of prompts and questions asking, how would you like your experience to be while reading this? Yeah,
but it should feel like not that. It should feel like you've opened a book, and this is kind of how you choose to turn the pages. You know, because a prompt and a question can feel like it's blocking you. But this should feel like it's opening a vista. I know it's just words, but you know, in terms of a design direction, right?
Yeah. The way we've been exploring it on our platform, on Me, is that if you have a big text, a big text document, you could break it into paragraphs, and you can have one card with a paragraph, and then the second card with an image, and then the third card another paragraph, and then the fourth card a video, and then you can structure it in a way that the experience is very media rich.
I also, even though I'm very wary of the whole annotated web and that stuff, as Jerry well knows, due to all our discussions, just for fun, since we're inventing without a budget, let's imagine we have an annotation social network that we've invented. We own every aspect of it. If we know that someone is an author in the book, it would be interesting if we could allow that author to link within the book after it's published, because they wouldn't necessarily have read everything before, right? So that
that I agree.
Yeah, so that the people who have special privileges, everybody can do it, but that's like you turn on and off who you actually care about, right? So you can see the authors.
Yeah, that sounds very interesting. Sorry, I've been running so much development that your video just froze, so I had to restart the thing. But
oh, okay.
Are you aware of Infranodus? Click on the link I sent. It got lots of pictures. It's really a kind of sort of all kinds of textual analysis live. You know, I think you know, something like that is the kind of thing that you could just say.
Discourse,
you know,
or any
that's something.
topic.
So I'm just playing it here with
yeah. I mean, that's a clear way of you know, that's exactly what he's pretty good at, you know, and there's all kinds of and it really great. I use it quite, no, not that often, but once a month at least. You could just point it at your tweets, and it would beautifully map, you know, by size and everything, the kind of thing that you were on about. So I think that's really useful. So in fact, I just tried to do it, and that's when my machine crashed, because obviously the future of text is big enough, and I tried to just take Alan Kay's paper out, and actually you can play with these. You can sort of emphasize this or that, and or show that is the non-obvious, and it really is a very good way of homing in on key topics. And and if you do it for all, you should be able to turn it in a graphic, but you should be able to create an overall landscape. You know?
Yeah, no, the landscapes and that's really cool, but just a little bit to continue with the notion of editions. So we've now talked about having authors be able to link within the book and annotate with a special privilege that other people can read, right? So then you have this one world, but you have, you can choose. Maybe some, like with our real book, some authors are not going to do anything. some may do a lot, and you can choose that when you are looking at jury, there is, through whatever means, see jury's version of the whole book, or see what he's highlighted, or links. That could be an interesting elastic package, like we talked about, this kind of holding stretchy thing.
Yes, and also I think that is something that can be done with tools like Infranodus. Is simply, okay, you got whatever, how many 100, 200 papers, and you could sort of cluster them by topic or whatever, that these are really related, and these are related to that. So just identifying the main topics or of discussion, and that actually would be a sort of contents graph.
Yeah, I agree with
which
you.
would enable people to be selective.
Yeah, I mean, so we can have many different editions of the codex, but we can also explode it, where whatever paragraph or keywords or pages or whatever becomes the things in the space. Absolutely, but to be able to go in and out of that, and the underlying thing is still encoded in this.
Since we're talking about a digital version, could the authors maybe update their text so we can have versionings?
Yeah, that should be possible, I'm sure.
I don't think so. In the sense of the honesty of time, I don't think they should just be able to go in and change it. But what could
not change it, but elaborate and expand.
Yeah, yes. I mean that's the thing. When we're talking about linking to other bits, they should also annotate, right? And if they should be able to.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah.
Yeah. No. So I'm just, we're just playing with the language here. So it would be really, really cool if you get to jury's page and it says something, jury has done stuff. We have to find out the language for it. Click on the thing, and then half of what is written is actually scratched out. And then he says, I realized something else, and I've added a full PDF page. That's entirely free, right?
Yeah, that'd be nice. But one of the issues, like I like the idea of having the author's comments, but once everybody, for example, in Amazon, in Kindle, you can see where people have been highlighting text. And that just becomes a snowball, because if you see that somebody highlighted something, then you end up highlighting it, and it ends up becoming the first.
Sorry, I just hear that there's another call I should be on, so I got to go. Sorry.
Okay, good to see you. See you Monday, I hope.
Yeah. Okay. Bye.
Hi. Oh, and I'm sorry too, but I have to do some bug fixing, and yeah, I have to leave too. Yes, I mean, as for the book, so I think about ways to I'm at a loss of words.
Oh, sorry. Did you want to say something? Frode?
No. I was just saying, have a good weekend. Hope to see you on Monday.
Yes. Okay.
All right. Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, jury. Yeah, excuse me, Gunther.
Yeah. Okay. I think about ways to improve it, but as of now, I can't give you. But Raphael made some very good suggestions, of course, and have to think about that. Anyway, I'm sorry, but I'm a bit distracted. I have to fix some bugs, and
no, it's fine. These conversations, it's happy to call in, hop in, whatever. Absolutely.
Another question. I was wondering, did you do Raphael any work on Mark's data set?
No, because he's finishing a paper. He sent me a message on the Circle community with a couple of examples, and then I'm going to bring that up today with my developers to see what's possible. But he hasn't sent me the JSON file yet from a couple of snippets from his organization, from ACM. but I'll probably get that next week.
Okay, well, then looking forward to see what we can do with it actually, because I mean it's so exciting that they put all this work. I mean 3 years, and I think we can do much with it, and perhaps also in, of course, combination then with the next future of text release. I think there might be some great opportunities. But anyway, I'm sorry, I have to bounce now, but it was good seeing you, and you all have a nice weekend, and talk to you on Monday.
Look forward to it.
Yeah, you
Have a
too.
good weekend. Good trip.
Yeah,
Bye.
bye-bye. And I'm gonna have to go make lunch as well, Frode, but just to complete the idea on the whole notes and highlighting and likes and shares and kind of social kind of interactions. What I don't like is that they exist forever and that influences behavior, which
Oh, you
is
mean like
kind of
Amazon
tricky.
ones?
Yes, exactly.
Oh yeah,
So
yeah.
if you pick up a book, some people, I've seen people not even reading the book, they just read all the highlights. And I think that's kind of troublesome.
That's exactly my problem with it. That's why I'm thinking for this, you have to be an author to do it. And if it supports anybody, that would be a different layer you can just turn off. But I
Yeah.
wouldn't be before that. But you have to watch the Halston thing. You're a designer, you will really relate to it. But
I'll watch it.
yeah, some of the arty stuff in there is really relevant to what we're doing, I think. I'm realizing more and more. So yeah.
What I would love to have though, Frode, as a compliment is, for example, if you highlighted your book, right? I could ask you to share, or you could share your highlights with me, and then I could take a look at what you've highlighted, right? But I wouldn't be able to see 1,000 people's highlights. That's of no use unless you're making knowledge graphs and things like that. But I would love to know, specific people's highlights.
Well, this is what's so incredibly frustrating, because these things are relatively trivial to do technically. It's a matter of the interface design and then the marketing of it. Because writing shouldn't have to be writing a sentence, period, writing another sentence, period. You should be able to thread things like this. I should be able to just get from you a EDL of a book, not just a quote. But easily you give me these things and I can open it up, unwrap it however I want, and we can build a structure, publish it to someone else. This kind of squishy thing has to happen. I completely agree. And now that I have author and reader to a level that I'm happy with, my mind is open to think crazy stuff because I can't afford to build it anyway. So I don't have that half in the back of my head saying, don't think about it because it'll kill you kind of thing, which is very stressful. You may know what I'm talking about.
Yes, definitely. I'm still trying to get, our product out the door so that I can get to a point where I'm happy with it and then start thinking of more possibilities. But we're trying to get the first version out, and it's soon. It's really soon.
Good. It's it's stressful. It really is. I mean, there is that old joke: developing software, first you do 90% of the work, then you do the next 90% of the work. Every time. Every time.
Yeah.
Anyway,
don't always anytime you want to implement a new feature, you get a huge backlog of bugs that you have to fix and prerequisites of prerequisites of prerequisites. It's
very interesting how that is.
Yeah.
And even for me, who's not a programmer, even changing a small thing actually does take time for the programmer has to go in and do the changes. Forget the big ones, that's obviously known, but even the little ones can be just, can you please do it? No, because of this and that.
Yes.
Anyway, still nothing I'd rather do, but look at this before you go real quick. So Edgar just had his birthday, so I made this.
Oh, that's a big print. Oh, it's a book. Ah, of course it's a book. Well, what else would it be?
Yeah, I know. It's printed on Blurb. So the quality of the printing is just absolutely insane. So I printed straight from Lightroom. Look at that.
Awesome. Did you do one for each year?
answer that like this. So this is take you into the living room. Here are the Edgar books.
Ah, look at that. That's
So
awesome.
sometimes it's a huge book for a small period of time, but generally they're not for a full year. They're this or that. So
That's incredible, Fred.
anyway, they're expensive to print, but once you have them forever, and it's different than just looking at a screen, isn't it?
Yes, exactly.
And here's the back of the book. That was his birthday. There was a bit. It's so bizarre. So at the very
Very
end,
nice. Little Edgar will have all his life documented.
yeah. And even he wasn't feeling very well, so we got paranoid. We called the ambulance. So here he is. That's the benefit of living in a place like London. You call the ambulance, they come and check things and say
They
bye
come
bye.
very fast.
Out about insurance and stuff like. Anyway, it's all good. Let's keep thinking crazy thoughts. I look forward to Monday.
All right. Have a nice weekend, Fred.
You
See you
too.
Monday.
See you then. Bye.
Bye-bye.